This is every single fight to make after UFC Vegas 46, Kattar versus Chikadze, and I've got all of the key fighters from that card on the screen right now. Some winners, some losers, and you may notice there is an empty box next to all of them, and that's where their next opponent's going to go, who I have hidden around the perimeter of the screen. And as this video goes on, I'll reveal them one by one and place them where they belong on the screen. Let's start straight away with the main event. Calvin Kattar gets to win over Giga Chikadze in an upset win. I didn't see it coming. I thought Giga Chikadze was going to get the job done, but Calvin Kattar proves that he's still got it in that featherweight division and puts himself, honestly, in my opinion, we could be seeing a number 3 ranked Calvin Kattar in that featherweight division moving forward. Now, in my initial reaction to this fight, I would have loved to have seen him versus Zabit Magomedsharipov too, and I also kind of wanted to see Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez, but then I got thinking to myself, I don't want Zabit to fight the same opponent twice over, back to back. That doesn't make any sense to me. I want to see Calvin Kattar versus Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega's number 2 in the world. Calvin Kattar, in my opinion, should be ranked number 3 in the world after that performance against Giga Chikadze. He's beaten Dan Ige. He's beaten Giga Chikadze. He still has that win over Shane Burgos, who's quite a good ranked featherweight contender right now. I believe that Calvin Kattar should get the shot against Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega's probably looking to be coming back around April, May this year, something like that. I'm sure he's going to take at least 6 months off after the Alexander Volkanovski fight and look to come back somewhere after that time period. And I think Calvin Kattar's a perfect matchup for him. Their time frame works out. They're both going to be around they're both going to be looking to come back into the game around the same time. And also, I did want to see Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez, but I also want to see some new guys get towards Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. And I know that Calvin Kattar has also lost to Max Holloway, and so has Brian Ortega. But I'd like to eliminate one of them from the top of the featherweight division as for right now, because both of them have really badly lost to Holloway. I don't mind if Yair Rodriguez has still got a chance to maybe go in there and get a rematch against Holloway when he's a little bit more active. Maybe you could do Yair Rodriguez versus Zabit now, which is another thing I was thinking of, which makes me want Kattar versus Brian Ortega, Fight Night main event, end of April, start of May, around that time period, because I kind of want to see Zabit Magomedsharipov come back and try and earn his title shot against Yair Rodriguez in that featherweight division. It's the fight we never got, so Zabit versus Yair, Kattar versus Brian Ortega, and that's better in my opinion. Kattar versus Zabit 2 and Ortega versus Yair, and I want to see this matchup next. A great fight. Both guys have got a good chance of winning. I could honestly see Kattar getting this one done because Brian Ortega, he's got good jiu-jitsu, but he needs someone to try and take him down, and he doesn't really have the best takedowns of his own unless he can knock you down in the first place and put you in trouble and then try a submission attempt. So I don't mind Kattar's chances going in there against Brian Ortega, and I think it's a perfect matchup to make. Number 2 versus number 3 in the featherweight division. Let's get it going. Moving on to another matchup. Giga Chikadze lost against Calvin Kattar. He took a lot of damage. I think next for him is going to have to be Dan Ige in that featherweight division, who's coming off a loss to Josh Emmett in December. They both lost around the same time. Dan Ige might be looking to come back a little bit sooner than Giga Chikadze, but he's still a young guy. He doesn't need to rush his career. He got dropped really badly in the first round against Josh Emmett. I believe he got his nose broken against Josh Emmett as well, so he's going to need a little bit of time off. Giga Chikadze is also going to need a lot of time off. This wasn't like a Holloway Kattar beatdown. It wasn't like a Holloway Ortega beatdown or anything like that, but it was a sustained beating. His face is all swollen up. I don't even know if he has a broken nose, but I would assume that something is broken in his face. He didn't look like it, but I would assume that something is broken in Giga Chikadze, so he's going to need a little bit of time off. I'm thinking he maybe returns best case scenario, because he's going to want to stay somewhat active, because he's 33 years of age. He ain't got much time to be taking 7 months off, 8 months off. I think he should look to return around the end of May against Dan Ige in the co-main event of a fight night or something like that. Like, put another fight in the main event, a middleweight bout in the main event, a light heavyweight bout in the main event, and do a co-main event of Giga Chikadze versus Dan Ige. Maybe even do like a Georgian-themed card of Marlon Vera versus Merab Dvalishvili, Corey Sandhagen, Merab Dvalishvili in the main event, and then Chikadze versus Dan Ige in the co-main event to finish off that card. But I think that's a great matchup for him. Both guys are going to be looking to turn around and come back around the same time. They both took a lot of damage in their last fight. Chikadze more than Ige, but at the same time, they're going to be on similar schedules, and I think they both need to take a sort of setback against another guy who's coming off a loss. No more prospects on the rise for either of these two. Let's get him going against another guy coming off a loss in a similar position. The loser has to, like, sacrifice themselves to take on the next big up-and-comer, like a Ilya Topuria or a Movsar Evloev or even a Bryce Mitchell. But the winner can get right back in the mix and start looking at big names because they're not young, and you want to keep them at the top while they're young, or as young as they can be. Chikadze being 33. Have not got much time to waste, so turn around for May. This year, Chikadze versus Dan Ige, I think, is a great matchup to make. And Kattar versus Brian Ortega. Let's move on to the rest of the card. Now, there weren't the biggest names on the rest of the card, but I'm going to break them down anyway. Brandon Royval in the flyweight division. I guess he got the win against Rodrigo Bontorin. I don't know if he should have got the win, but he got the win against Rodrigo Bontorin. Very close fight. Brandon Royval gets it done, and I'm honestly glad, because I like Brandon Royval. Raw Dog season. I'm in the mood. Like, I like Royval's sort of personality that he has in the flyweight division. He's a funny guy. He jokes around. He's a promotable character as well. He has a win over Kai Kara France, which is going to help him in that flyweight division. I reckon he might be ranked around number 4, number 5 right now in the flyweight division. So he's going to need a big name next. He can't take on Pantoja, who's the only free guy in the top 5. So he's going to have to look a little bit down the rankings. And I think he should look to take on Alex Perez. Now, Alex Perez, a couple of weeks from now, in the middle of February, is taking on Matt Schnell. Their matchup has been tried to be booked about 6 different times. It hasn't happened. Maybe this time it will actually happen, I hope, in February. The winner of that one, I think, has got to take on Brandon Royval. Now, the problem with this matchup is, and flyweight's a bit of a weird division because they're all matched up. None of them are matched up. They're all matched up. None of them are matched up. It's like a very small division, so it's not a lot of free guy. There's not a lot of options over who you should take next. Like, you're taking on him next. Why? Well, because he's the only fucking guy that you really can if you want to move up the rankings. You know what I mean? So, Alex Perez might get Alejandro Pantoja next because he's a fresh matchup for Pantoja. And Schnell isn't. And Royval isn't. And some of these other contenders in the flyweight division aren't fresh matchups for Pantoja. But I'd like to see Royval versus Perez. 2 young guys. Square them off against each other, ensure that we keep one of them in the top 5 of the flyweight division, looking for their title elimination bout in that division as well, and maybe the winner of that one can take on Alejandro Pantoja, or maybe, honestly, if Moreno wants to stay active after January and wants to turn right back around in April or May, he could just look to take on Alejandro Pantoja in Brazil. They're doing a Brazil card. Pantoja's a Brazilian that would be a title contender. He has a win over Moreno. Why not just make that matchup anyway to keep Moreno active, or Figueiredo active, because he'd be Brazilian as well. Then you could do like a Brazilian on Brazilian type fight in Brazil in May. I think they should do Royval versus Perez, because I believe Perez will beat Matt Schnell, which takes me to the next thing. Rodrigo Bontorin, who lost to Brandon Royval, still a good contender, arguably could have won, so still a top contender in the flyweight division, but he's going to have to take a step back, and I think it's got to be against Suma Dwergi. Tough matchup. Honestly, not even a tough matchup, though, because Suma Dwergi is a little bit... He's fought some guys, but he has not fought great guys. Let's just be as polite as I possibly can there. He's not fought the best guys to get where he's at right now. We're talking Zaru Kadashev's, Malcolm Gordon's of the flyweight division. He's not jumping past Emir Albazi and then jump past another, Tagir Ulanbekov. You know what I mean? Like, he's built his way up against lower level competition in the flyweight scene. And I think next for him is Rodrigo Bontorin. He needs a jump up. He was supposed to jump up against Tim Elliott. He got injured. He's been out for a while recovering from that injury, so I assume it was like a torn ACL or something broken, like a broken hand, broken foot, something like that. So whenever he wants to get back in there, April this year, May this year, maybe on the prelims of the Brazilian card in May of the pay-per-view, you can do Rodrigo Bontorin versus Suma Dwergi, and that would be a great matchup to open up those prelims. That would be great. So let's do that one next for Rodrigo Bontorin. A winnable matchup for him, and obviously, he doesn't get paid a lot, so he's going to be looking to turn around real quick on that loser's check to make sure that he gets paid at least somewhat okay this year. So Rodrigo Bontorin, 29 years of age, hopefully looking to stay active, put him in there against another young guy in Suma Dwergi, and try and get some movement in these flyweight rankings of the new guys coming up, finally trying to sort of get their jump into the top 10 that they need. And Suma Dwergi needs that jump up. So, moving on to another matchup. Katlyn Chookagian beat Jennifer Meyer in the rematch in the, I guess, somewhat people's co-main event, because it was a top contenders bout in the women's flyweight division. So, next for Katlyn Chookagian is Valentina Shevchenko. Sorry, Chookagian, you've drawn the short straw. Time for you to take on Shevchenko next in a rematch. Like, arguably, the first fight was pretty, reasonably competitive in the first 2 rounds before Shevchenko took her down and destroyed her on the ground. So, you could argue that, oh, Chookagian landed shots. You know what I mean? And that could be enough to build some kind of hype around this dead fucking division that Shevchenko gets praised for beating, even though they're fucking part-time fighters, most of them, and they're all middle-aged. But either way, Chookagian versus Shevchenko 2. Chookagian's won 3 in a row now, I believe, in the flyweight division. She's earned her title shot. She's won 2 in a row whilst being number 2 in the division. She's only lost to Andrade. Other than that, she bounced back against 3 good contenders. So I think she needs to take on Valentina Shevchenko next. Because right now, there's no one. You can't give her Taylor Santos. Taylor Santos is ranked number 4 or 5. Just beat Joanne Calderwood. Not really a title elimination bout type of win. So I think give her Chookagian. Build Santos in the meantime, build Manon Fiorot in the meantime, build Casey O'Neill in the meantime, and finally get them towards the title shot whilst you sort of distract Shevchenko with a Chookagian rematch just to keep her busy, and they can fight each other, let's say in July, as inactive as possible for Shevchenko. We don't want her sort of rushing past her contenders. We want to give time for the contenders to get to the top before Shevchenko's looking to come back in, say, December, November of this year for another title defense. So, July, do this matchup, Chookagian Shevchenko 2, another throwaway title fight that you can add to that July fight International Fight Week card. Put Shevchenko on there. It'll be a decent whatever, I don't give a fuck. Moving on, Bill Aljo. Good win, even better call out. He called out Giga Chikadze. You're not going to get Giga Chikadze. You're just not going to get Giga Chikadze. But if you want Giga Chikadze, a good way of doing that is to work your way through former opponents of Giga Chikadze and see if you can do things, I don't know, better than Giga Chikadze could. Now, Giga Chikadze took Omar Morales to a decision, and it was reasonably competitive, but he won the decision very clearly. So if you can finish Omar Morales, or even have an equally as impressive clear-cut decision victory over Omar Morales, then you're on that pathway to proving, hang on, I can kind of hang with the Chikadzes of the world. Do I believe he's going to get there? I don't think he's going to, but Omar Morales is an older guy. I know he's coming off a loss, but at the same time, he's older. He's not going to be like, oh, time for me to, like, take a setback against a guy coming off a loss and rebuild myself. He's going to be wanting to get right back in there against a guy who's got some momentum. Bill Aljo's got some momentum right now, so I think him versus Omar Morales would be a fun matchup to make. The winner gets another guy. The winner gets another guy. Then eventually maybe a Chikadze bout could happen. Who knows? Chikadze could lose to Dan Ige, be ranked at number 14, 15. Aljo could beat Omar Morales, and simply because of the beef, he might be able to actually get that matchup. So we'll see how it goes. Bill Aljo versus Omar Morales. Perfect matchup. Moving on. Jake Collier won in the co-main event against... Fuck, who was in the co-main event of that billion-dollar company's fight card to open up the year after 4 weeks? Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman was the guy's name. Jake Collier beat him very convincingly, looked very good, called out Andrei Arlovski, who's got a matchup. But Justin Tafa called him out, so let's make that matchup. It's not often you get, like, a call-out made. So, if there's, like, slight bit of interaction, I saw ESPN sort of posted a video of Collier's reaction to Tafa calling him out, saying, if you can make weight, let's do it, big boy, I'm ready for you. Anytime you get that sort of hint of some kind of build-up and call-out being made, it does make the eventual fight way cooler. So, Jake Collier, Justin Tafa, let's make the fight happen. I know Justin Tafa wanted to fight on Israel Adesanya's card in February. Maybe we could just immediately rebook this to the February early prelims, something like that. Or just on a fight night card, somewhere on the prelims. Jake Collier, Justin Tafa, makes some sense. They called each other out. And the winner of that one can then look at the Arlovskis, the Sergey Pavloviches, the Sergey Spivaks, those kind of names of the heavyweight division that's going to get them somewhere near the rankings. But that's a perfect matchup to make. Moving on. Vyacheslav Borshev. I don't even know if that's his first name. I forgot it, so I just made it up. I hope it's Vyacheslav. Borshev. He got a very good win against Dakota Bush with a body shot in the first round. I say keep him active and put him against Jordan Levitt, who also wants to stay somewhat active. He got a win in December, I believe it was, on the Dorcas versus Lewis card. Very final card of the year. He got a win over Matt Sales with an inverted triangle. Didn't take too much damage, so I say bring him back around. April Fight Night main card opener. Borshev versus Jordan Levitt. keep the momentum going with both of them. I think that Borshev is probably going to beat Jordan Levitt, but it'd be interesting to see him deal with a guy who's got good grappling, who's looking to take him down, and maybe try and work some jiu-jitsu on him. So we'll see how things go. I reckon Borshev would win this one, but we've got to keep him active, and we've also got to give him matchups in the lightweight division that justify him being on the main card. You can tell the UFC want to push this guy. He's a decently big name from a market they're trying to capitalize on in Eastern Europe. So let's do Borshev, Jordan Levitt, main card of a fight night, decent spotlight on them. Then the winner of that one can start looking at some more renowned names in the lightweight division. Maybe like maybe the winner of this is like next up for Clay Guida's Test of the Ages. Can you get past the legendary Clay fucking Guida? What has this sport become? Either way, Borshev, Levitt, perfect matchup, main card opener of a fight night. Let's get it done. And moving on to the final card, or the final fight, Brian Kelleher, thought I'd mention him. He had a decent win. So let's do him versus Adrian Yanez. I don't think Yanez is going to get a ranked opponent, really, so let's do this. I don't know if Yanez is going to get anyone ranked. Like, I don't see them doing Simone versus Yanez. Simone's going to want someone above him in the rankings. Marai's just got a matchup. Asuncao will probably still be recovering from that Simone loss. Edgar, I don't know about that. So let's do Kelleher versus Yanez. Decent matchup, two big names. Give Yanez another winnable matchup against Kelleher and a grappler to maybe try and deal with as well. Yeah, that's what I think should happen next in the bantamweight division. Just one more setback for Yanez to build upon. Go 5-0, and then we can start talking about ranked opponents. I don't see Sean O'Malley taking on Adrian Yanez yet, next. So let's do this matchup in the meantime. Two reasonably well-known names. Build Yanez's name up even more if he gets a win, which I believe he would. Kelleher mentioned rematching or rescheduling a fight with Saad Yaqub in April or May, but I don't think Saad Yaqub's going to be looking to wait that many months afterwards. I'm sure he's going to want to jump in on one of these February cards or March cards. So let's do him versus Yanez in April. Pay-per-view card, prelims. We'll see how it goes. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. That was every fight to make after UFC Vegas 46. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.